Okay, so in this video we are going to look at how linear search works with 1D arrays. Now, linear search is basically a method to find a value within a list or an array. It checks each element of the list one by one until the target is found or the entire list has been searched. Okay, now to make this clearer, let's look at a real life scenario of this. So imagine you are finding a book from your bag, your math textbook, say, and then your bag contains many books. So how are you going to find the math book? First of all, you pick out the first book in your bag. You check if it's the math book. If it's not the math book, you put it back. Then you check the next one. If it's the math book, you take it out. Otherwise, you leave it. Then you search through the bag, and when you find the math book, it means if you find the math book, it means the math book was in the bag. Now, if you have searched through all the bag and you were not able to find the math book, it means you left the math book somewhere. Okay, so this is the same way linear search works. We check through each of the element of the array and compare it to what we were searching for, and if it's found, it means it exists in the array. Otherwise, if it's not found at that element, we look at the next element. And if we have searched through all of the array and the target was not found, it means that that value is not in the array. Okay, now let's say we have an array called scores, which contains 5 values: 56, 68, 43, 70, and 93. And we want to know whether 70 is part of the array or not. So we are basically finding 70 in the array. Now to do that, we'll use linear search. Okay, the target value is 70. Now how this will work is that um, to find 70, we go through the array using a loop. We look at each element, compare it to 70. So if the first element, so if the current element is equals to 70, it means we found it 70, right? So 70 is in the array. Otherwise, we move to the next element. So first we check if 56 is equals to 70. 56 is not equals to 70, so we move to the next. Is 68 equals to 70? No. We move to the next. Is 43 equals to 70? No. Is 70 equals to 70? Yes. So it means 70 is found in the array. Okay, but however, if let's say we are looking for a value of 200. Okay, does 56 equals to 200? No. Does 68 equal to 200? No. Then we continue. So is 43 equals to 200? No. Is 70 equals to 200? No, it's not. 93 is also not equals to 200. So we have searched through all of the array and we did not find 200. So it means 200 is not part of the array. Okay, this is how linear search works. Now uh, this is basically in plain English. Now, to write it in pseudocode, this is the code. So we use a flag basically to tell if we have found the target we were looking for. So here found is the flag. Okay, this is our flag. We declare it as a boolean data type, which is either true or false. Then the target is what we are looking for. In this case, we are looking for 70. Okay, now first found is false because we haven't found what we are looking for. Okay, target is 70, found is false. Okay, now we loop through the array. So one index at a time. Okay, so for index from 1 to length of scores is basically 5 elements. Okay, so we're doing a for loop from 1 to 5. Okay, now if scores at that index is equals to 70, then we set found to be true. Okay, it means we have found the target, and we output value found at index, then we output the index. Okay, otherwise we move on to the next index. So index was first 1, now it becomes 2. So that is how we loop through the array and we check if that specific element is equals to 70. Okay, and then if after the for loop has finished, found does not become true, it means that we didn't find what we were looking for. So we say that the value was not found in the array. Okay, Now let's run through this manually, okay, so that we get a better understanding of it. So first, found is false, okay, found is false here, okay, found is false, target is 70, okay. Now for index from 1 to length of scores, scores has a length of 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, okay. So from 1 to 5 basically, okay. If score, okay, so right now index is what, 1. So if scores at index 1 is equals to target is what, 70, okay, target is 70, then we set found to be true. Is scores at index 1 equals to 70? What do we have at index 1? At index 1 we have 56. Is 56 equals to 70? No. So we move on to the next index, okay. Now index becomes 2, okay. So if scores at index 2 is equals to 70, then we set found to be true. Is scores at index 2 equals to 70? At 2 we have 68. Is 68 equals to 70? No. So we move on to the next index, which is 3. Is scores at index 3 equals to 70? At 3 we have 43. 43 is not equals to 70. So we move on to the next one, which is index 4. Okay, now index has become 4. Is 70 equals to 70? Yes, it is. So found becomes true. Okay, found becomes true. And then we end the if, and we continue running, which is which we can so over here, if we can alter the code so that if found has become true, we break the loop, okay. But if you want to keep it simple, we can continue like this. Then it goes through the last value, okay, basically. And then so when found is set to true, we output value found at index. So we output uh, value value found at index was what, 4. So we output value found at index 4, okay. Now let's say that our search item was 100, okay. So if our search item was 100, so target is 100, okay, not 70. Now first we go through, so is scores at index 1 equals to 100? No, it's not equals to 100. So we move to the next index, which is 2, okay. Is scores at index 2 equals to 100? At 2 we have 68. 68 is not equals to 2, so we move to the next, which is index 3. At index 3 we have 43. 43 is not equals to 100. We move to the next one, index 4. At index 4 we have 70. 70 is not equals to 100 either. Then we move to the last one, which is index 5. At index 5 we have 93, and 93 is also not equals to 100. So the for loop has ended because it runs from 1 to 5 only, okay. So the for loop has ended. We check this line. If found is equals to false, is found equals to false? Yes, found is equals to false, nothing changed, okay. So then we output value not found in the array. As we can see, in our array we didn't have any 100, okay, and we checked through to find 100 and we did not find 100. Okay, so this is basically how linear search works for 1D arrays, okay. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope you understood from this.